What is up, responsible day traders? It is Sunday. Today is Sunday, March 19th, 2023. I'm Lindsay Duff, and this is Responsible Day Trading. So there's been a lot of things going on in the news, a lot of crazy things with the banks, and the market has given some interesting looks to it. We've had some moves back to the upside, it's pulled back down. We're stuck between two particular areas that I'm really excited to look at and how we can determine what we may see happen next. Also, guys, do not forget, end of next month, we're going to be having our seminar. So if you want to be a part of that, if you've never traded before, you're just looking to get started, we have something for you. And if you have already been in the course and you understand the program, we're going to have something for you as well. So reach out to us at info@responsibledaytrading.com, and I'll leave a link down below so you can check it out yourself. But we'd love to have you there, and I'd love to give you a hug or a handshake in person. All right, guys, so let's check out the news first, and then we're going to check out the market. All right, guys, as always, we are going to head over to responsibledaytrading.com. We have the news section here, so if you click that and go down, you can see market news. So we're going to head over here to market news, and we got some things going on. Okay, so Monday we don't have any news, but Tuesday, 30 minutes after market opens, we've got existing home sales. Wednesday could be a pretty busy day. So an hour after market opens, we've got crude oil inventories, and then we've got Fed interest rates and FOMC press conference at 1 and 1:30. And remember, these are Central Time. If you'd like to change your filters up so that it is at a different time for you, you can absolutely do that. If you want to look at other countries and their news, you can definitely do that as well. Thursday, we've got some pre-market. We've got stuff about an hour and a half and an hour before the market opens, and then we've got something 30 minutes after. And Friday is an hour before pre-market. So I've said it before, I'll say it again. News is not always a reason to exit the trade, but being aware is huge. So you want to pay attention and you want to know what's ahead. All right. So let's go ahead and check out this market. We're going to start here on the daily chart. What we like to do is start at the top, work our way down, see what the bigger picture is telling us, and move from there. Now, this is a rather interesting look that we have here. First thing, we have this area that we've come down to. Have we broken through it? Just slightly. We've broken through that area, but what I'm noticing right now is that it's attempting to make a blue BB, but we are only an hour into the market being open, so that could definitely shift to purple. Here's the thing that I'm seeing that I don't have a whole lot of hopes for long trades. First off, we don't have any divergence going on here. Second off, what's starting to happen is we're starting to see the EMAs open up to the downside. I'm going to spread this out just a little bit more so we can look at it. We're starting to see the EMAs open up to the downside, and we pulled back into the area. So in the area of the EMAs is a great area to anticipate this to roll over and push to the downside. So with this being below the zero line, with pulling away from the EMAs, with the EMAs starting to open up, it's a really big possibility that we see this push back down towards the areas that we saw our last major lows. Now, the other thing that may happen, we know we've had this area of resistance that we've hit along here. It did turn into support here and here. We overran it, and we pulled back into it. So do we anticipate this area of support to be the deciding factor in why this holds? I'm not going to say yes to that, because I think it's going to be a really, really tough thing to see this hold. Now, to see this push through and pull away, it's going to give it a lot more power behind it, or as I like to say, oomph behind it. But right now, we've got the blue BB. It's trying to push back up, but mainly just pulling back into the area that we could see this roll back down. So I'm not going to discount the idea that it could go up, but right now I'm not 100% on seeing this go back up. Now, we haven't exceeded the last major low, so that is something that is in its favor. We did reach that area and we've held out. Now look what happened last time we held out. We were coming at it with strength. It just held flat and then it moved back up. So we may see something like that happen here. The fact that we have the lighter color BBs is a little bit more in favor of it moving back up, but they're not really, really white BBs yet. And without the divergence, it's going to be a little hard. We may just be stuck between these areas for a little bit before it makes a decision, or it may just fly to the upside. All right, let's look at the 28,657. So the 28,657 is trying to tell us that, hey man, this is pushing up with some strength to the upside. So when we're looking at this, what's happened? Well, we have our first bar of the day. Our last bar on Friday pulled down and made this tiny, tiny little bar, and we never got inside of the Bollinger Bands, and now it's pushing up. So if I'm looking at my 28,657, my direction is still to the upside. We came down, pulled back up, came down, equaled that previous pivot area, and the MACDs were inside of the Bollinger Bands and never got back below. So a really good possibility for a W pivot to come back up in the area of these highs, which would also be the area that we saw right there on the daily chart, right up in this area where we could anticipate a potential bounce back to the downside. So we know we don't completely trust that first bar. This one's getting really close to closing, and currently we're way at the top of that bar, which with this separation in the BB to the upside, that may tell us that we have enough strength to push up through that zero line and continue up like we saw the big move that happened last week. So we did have a nice big strong move to the upside. That is what opened up these EMAs and spread them apart. They haven't crossed over to the downside. We have gotten back above this middle of the W pivot. So, hey, maybe we're going to see this push back up. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the trading charts, because this is where our real action happens. We look at those bigger charts because we want to anticipate what the overall move could be, but these charts here, these smaller charts, give us the ability to have a lot lower risk and take advantage of all of those moves that happen in between. Now, I am not going to say in any way, shape, or form that this looks pretty. This is something that the last few days, last week or so, it's been a lot of rough looks to this. So you have to either be really, really patient and hold on, or just sit out for some of this. There's no harm in sitting out and letting it do its thing and maybe get through some of this confusion that we're seeing with the craziness happening with banks and things like that. So maybe let that kind of work itself out before you put yourself into this. Now, let's look at what the 10,946 is. Now, everything, with the exception of our daily chart, is poised to the upside, okay? We're back above the EMAs here. We're back above the zero line. Our direction is shifted to the upside. We are into the upside on the 1597. We're to the upside on the 233. We do have to remember that this is just the opening. We've only had a few bars happen so far on the 10,946. We're still on that first bar on the 28,657. And we've gotten a few that have been created on the 233 and the 1597. So far, they're trying to tell us that we have a really good potential for this to continue up. So what do we want to see for continuation and really that confidence that it's going to go up? Well, what we want to see is these BBs pretty much stay to the upside. And what do I mean by that? Well, they may pull back, but we want to see them stay above the zero line. We'd like to see them getting back above the top EMA. If it happens to get back in, something like this, we want to see it move back above and not create divergences. So like in here, we saw it move back above, but it created divergences at that point, which told us that we're going to see a bit of a slowdown, that it was going to be a struggle. And then we got more divergences happening here, and what happened? We started to see that movement back to the downside. But now that we're getting on what is considered the correct side of the Bollinger Bands, if we want to see long moves, being back above them is a really good thing. So we don't have any kind of divergence on the 1597. I want to say we don't have divergence on the 10,946. And the reason I want to say that is because we reset the divergences when we got back below here and created the divergence from the bottom pivots to move this to the upside. So now that we're getting back above the EMAs and back above the zero line, we're going to want to see a pull back into the area and a push higher, and then really see what the MACDs are telling us then. Is it telling us that that is going to give us divergence and push things back down? Or were they going to be in agreement where that we're going to see more movement to the upside? Now, with this initial move to the upside, we're going to anticipate it to pull back. It's not just going to push up from here. Well, I could say that, and it may just push up from here. But typically what we're going to see is a pullback into the area. Same thing with these MACDs that's happening here. We're going to want to see it pull back and maybe do something like this. It may even get inside of the Bollinger Bands, but if it can't cross it and we see it pulling down, getting some nice reversal bars at the EMAs, that's going to be a lot of great opportunities to take this to the upside, to maybe get up towards this area or exceed it if we're going to start seeing more longs. Now, if this is going to move back to the downside, it started to try and give a little bit of a slowdown here on the 233, saying that it lost a little bit of the umph. We still have a lot of power behind these MACDs on our bigger tick charts. So, seeing these guys pull back is pretty normal. You can see what happened here. It looked like strong moves back to the downside, but we never really crossed that bottom Bollinger Band. We made a nice reversal bar and had a lot of good little pullbacks into the EMAs in order to participate in this move up. With this happening right here, I can see this trying to continue with this move that we saw at the opening. It's really trying to push through. We did have this big gap that we started with, but it did a lot of work to try and close it right here. So I'm not really too concerned with that little bit of a gap being an issue that anybody wants to close. Well, if I'm looking at these particular trading charts and my 28,657, it does tell me that it's got some real potential to continue to the upside. Are we going to see it pull back before it does that? More than likely. All these pullbacks are what we're looking for to happen all the time. These things give us space to run to the next area when we see pullbacks. We love seeing this kind of thing where it comes up and makes the bottom of that W pivot and seeing these MACDs leading a lot higher, because then it says, all right, I've got space to run to that next area. And if this is going to go and complete the W pivot, I would at the very least expect it to get up towards this area, if not exceed it and come up and equal this pivot. So that's what I see for a complete W pivot. A failed W pivot won't quite make it up there and will start coming back. It looks like it's trying to attempt to come back, but I don't know that I would trust it to turn around completely right now. We do still have a lot of momentum and movement to the upside. So, when it pulls back, I'm not going to expect it to be enough of a pullback to come back and exceed these areas down here. I am going to expect it to push up a little bit more and then have to slow down and weaken before it's going to come back down if it does. I'm still going to have my eyes kind of glued to that area on the daily chart right up in here, and maybe I'll put a small box around there so if I come up into that area later on, I'll be able to recognize it on my other charts. But this is the area that I'd be anticipating this to really just pull back to and kind of complete that move back to the upside. If it pushes through here and starts getting back above here, man, I'm going to be looking for those long trades. But it's going to have to do some work to do that. It really needs to get back above this Bollinger Band. We really want to see it get back above the zero line and get back on what I was saying is the correct side of the Bollinger Bands. So being on the upside looking for those long trades, or being on the downside looking for those short trades. So initial move came out of the gates pretty strong to the upside, and anticipating a pullback before I see a little bit more movement up. And then at that point, I'm going to be looking for divergences to determine whether or not that movement is going to continue up or if it's going to pull back and start making some new lows. All right, guys. Sorry I wasn't here last week. I actually had surgery earlier on in the week, and I thought I was going to be way. I thought I was going to be feeling way better after that and be able to really get with y'all. By the time I realized I just wasn't going to be able to do it, it was too late to contact Jason because he's on the other side of the world and was probably in bed by then. I am going to have him take care of next week because I'm making a little impromptu visit to Mexico, and so I won't be back until Monday. But I hope that everybody has a wonderful week. Please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions about the seminar. We'd love to have you there. And, guys, if you have questions about any of the things that I talk about, if you have questions about the MACDs or the EMAs or how they work together, just reach out to us. We'd be happy to explain it to you, walk you through a little bit of the understanding of it. So, all right, everyone, hope you have a wonderful week. And as always, you know that I look forward to catching you on the profitable side.